How old were you in the role in Friday?
13.
13.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had the scene, the ice cream truck with Big Perm, Big Worm.
Yeah.
And so,
Mess.
what was it like? Because, you know, Chris Tucker, Ice Cube, Faison, John Witherspoon, Bernie Mac.
Yes.
Were you on the set with any of those guys other than Chris Tucker and Ice Cube?
Yeah, you know, what's crazy is at that time, Michael Clark Duncan was Tiny Lester stand-in.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, F. Gary Gray was 25 years old, first movie. And basically for those 2 scenes that I had in the movie, I was probably on set for almost 3 weeks waiting to shoot my scenes.
Wow.
And so I spent a lot of time with everybody. But one thing I'll never forget is Tiny, I was eating a tuna sandwich and he said, "Can I have one?" I said, yeah. So I went and I made him one and I came back. And then Michael was like, "Well, where's mine?" And I was like, "Well, you didn't ask for one." He was like, "Yeah, but you didn't ask me if I wanted one." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he said to me, he said, "Just remember as you go along in your career, make sure you treat every single person on set the same exact way. Everybody has a role and everybody has a job and everybody is important." And I was like, right. And that stuck with me. So I always did that and I've always done that. And then it was really cool to do Debs with Michael Clark Duncan when I was 22, all those years later. And yeah, he was a wonderful person. Yeah.
Did you know Friday would be the cult classic? It's one of the black films. If you got 5 black films, and there are a lot of them, Friday's going to be in that collection.
Yeah.
Did you know what you were shooting at the time?
I didn't. I just was so happy to be there and to have a real line on camera in a movie. I was so nervous during my scene. There was a few times where Chris had to be like, "It's your line. It's your line. It's your line." I'm like, right. Man, I hate him. I was just so nervous. And I had and the one time he said, "You ain't got but one line. Just say your line." I was like, right.
Right.
But he became like a big brother to me after that.
Right.
But yeah, I had no idea what it was going to become.
And then Eve's Bayou.
Eve's Bayou, yeah.
With Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, that was the next year when I was 14. And I'll never forget that there was a table read about 4 years prior. And I was 10 at the time. So I was actually playing Eve in the table read. And Samuel Jackson was still playing the father role. I think Maya Campbell was playing my role. And I forget who else was there. But the point is after that, I was like, great. So when are we going to shoot this movie? And Miss Casey was basically like, well, we got to, get the funding for it first. So every year I'd be like, Miss Casey, we get funding. And finally, when they got funding, I was 14. So I was like, okay, I have to get Cicely. I have to be, And so I went in, I got Cicely, which was beautiful. And then I remember Journey coming in and 4 years prior, I had guest starred on Our Own.
Okay.
And played Jussie's love interest and had my first on-camera kiss with him and all that. And so I remembered Journey and I was like, oh my gosh. And then we just totally vibed out in the audition and then we ended up getting it together and then we were talking about Poe in the room and I was like, oh, Journey's got a little brother that's the exact same age as Poe. And then Casey went out there and saw him and then, then it's me, Journey, Date. So.
Were there any roles early on that your parents wouldn't allow you to do?
I'm sure there would have been, but I think my mom just kind of always instilled in me, like, don't do anything you're not comfortable with. Don't compromise yourself in any way. If you can look yourself in the mirror, then you're okay. But if you can't, it's not worth it. It's not that serious. God will bring you something better. And so growing up, every time I turned down something that I wanted to do, but I wasn't willing to do the nudity or I wasn't willing to do this or that, God always did bring something better. So.
Has that always been your ethos? Has that always been the way you thought and says like, you know what, at the end of the day, I still have to be able to look at myself and feel good about myself?
1,000%. Because I don't want fame or any type of success at the expense of losing my soul or not feeling good about who I am. It is not that serious. It just ain't, you know what I'm saying? And so I think as long as I keep my integrity and my authenticity, what's supposed to be mine will come to me. And I think it'll come to me even easier because you weed out the things that you don't need to be concerned with anyways.
Do you feel you've missed out on some roles because of the way you feel that you won't compromise your integrity?
No.
What's meant to be is going to be.
What's meant to be is going to be. And if I had done those roles, would I feel as good as I feel now? Would I have the peace that I have in my heart now? No. And that you can't buy that. That's not for sale.
I've interviewed a lot of people that were kid actors, and a lot of them have some bad stories to tell.
Sure.
Did you have any bad stories? I mean, I remember you had the one director that you said that he yelled at you. But outside of that, was there anything that you like that made you even maybe second guess, was like, maybe this isn't for me because of this yelling and all the belittling and the carrying on? I don't know if it's for me.
No, because I started doing it so young that it was the world I knew and the world that I lived in.
Okay.
So when I saw things that I didn't like, I just stayed away from it. Or if I saw people who had bad energy or were desperate for attention or whatever it was, I just kind of stayed out of their way and did my own thing. And so it's all I've ever known. It's the job that I've had my entire life. So I understand some of the things that come with it. I just don't concern myself with those things.
You've been Meagan Good, famous,
Right.
basically your entire life.
Right.
Did you wish that you could do some of the other things that kid could do? Because you couldn't do, because you were on television, you were in commercials, so you just couldn't go play and you just couldn't go hang out with your friends. And by the looks of it, didn't like you had a whole lot of friends. You run them off.
I had friends. I do. Look, my best friend and I've been best friends for 27 years.
Y'all still besties?
Most of my friends I've had for 20 years plus.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're
so you know they true.
Oh man, they're just quality human beings, like some of God's greatest gifts to my life, truly. I think the only thing I missed out on was the college experience, which I kind of went back and forth on because that would have meant that I would have had to take a break.
Right.
And then I also had the mentality of like, so many of the things that I want to learn under people who are actively doing it for a living. Right. And then I think I really would have wanted to do the reunions, like the 10-year reunion. Yeah. I just love stuff like that. And yeah.
So, but you, did you have sleepovers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we weren't really allowed to sleep over anyone else's house.
But they could come,
you know. But yeah, I mean, in that sense, there was always time to play, to find time to hang out. My mom was definitely particular about who would obviously be their parents and all those things. But in that sense, that part of it was pretty normal outside of people recognizing you.
So, in other words, to make a long story short, that you don't feel that you missed out on anything, even though you've had this long career and, you know, you was at TV shows, you was at movies, and like a lot of normal kids. Did you ever want to play sports?
I'm very athletic. And I do love sports, but I don't think so. I think I always knew I wanted to do drama.
This is what you always wanted.
Yeah, and then I tried dance for a while, but I just was not good at it. So, yeah, my older sister Lamaya and my younger sister Lexi are both phenomenal dancers, but I was just like, yeah, that's not the
not you.
It's not the gift the Lord has given you, Meagan, and that's okay.
Right. Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party, because you know we like to do something before two something.